What if attaining your dream life didn't require quitting your job, becoming a millionaire, or even moving someplace else? Today's guest, a native Texan, bought her second home first in coastal Maine after falling in love with East Coast summers. Now she's building a life around flexibility, optionality, and of course, seasonality. What if your 401k came with a fire pit and a lake view? That's the question that inspired it all. I'm Katie Klein, and living in New York City meant buying a home felt impossible. So I decided to flip the script and buy my second home first. When I'm not there, it doubles as a short-term rental, covering its costs, building equity, and even turning a profit. And best of all, it gives me a place to vacation for free. What 401k can do that? Every week, join me as we hear from real people who've done the same and experts who can help you do it too. If you thought owning any home, let alone a second one, was out of reach, this is the show for you. This is Second Home First. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Second Home First. I'm your host, Katie Klein, and today we have a really exciting Real Stories episode for you all. Today, I'm chatting with Taylor Summer, a Texas native who currently rents her primary home in Austin and bought her second home first in coastal Maine. Taylor also works for Minoan, a platform that helps vacation rental owners simplify furnishing and save money. Her remote role has allowed her and her husband to embrace a more digital nomad lifestyle, particularly spending their summers in Maine. In this episode, Taylor shares why she has no regrets buying at nearly an 8% interest rate, how she manages to offset most of her expenses even while enjoying the property herself at peak summer months, and why buying in a completely different part of the country comes with brand new considerations, from basements and sump pumps to the realities of winters in Maine. If you also like the idea of owning a vacation home that pays for itself, I hope you'll join us in the next class of the Second Home First Academy. In just 5 weeks, I'll teach you the exact 4-step framework I used to find, finance, and furnish my 3 vacation homes so you can do it too. Spots are limited, so be sure to visit buyyoursecondhomefirst.com/academy to sign up and use code podcast for 40% off. Now, without further ado, let's hear from Taylor. Taylor, when you decided to buy your second home first, where were you living at the time?
I was living at my husband's grandma's house in Midcoast, Maine.
Okay. When was that?
That was the summer of 2023.
Okay, so not that long ago.
Not that long ago. After COVID, we decided to kinda do the digital nomad thing for a while, and one of our destinations was Maine, and we fell in love with it and just knew that we definitely wanted to own something there, but not live there full time, so
Okay. So let's back up, I guess. Where are you from originally? How'd you meet your husband? And then tell me about that process to becoming a digital nomad.
absolutely. So, I'm from Austin, Texas, originally, born and raised. It's rare these days for that to be a thing, especially living here now. But from Austin, Texas, originally, so is my husband. Both of our families still fully live in Austin. So we really have roots in Austin still. And me and my husband met really young. We've been together for, gosh, 12, 11 years now, and so married for a little over 3. And so after we both finished school, at college, we were like he was finishing school in Oklahoma City, and I was living there with him, and we both knew that we didn't wanna stay in Oklahoma City long term, and so we were like, "What's next?" Well, the year was 2020, and so options were a little weird and wild. So, April of 2021, we decided to move to Midcoast, Maine, which is where his grandma had, like, a house right on the beach at the time. Felt very, like, Hallmark movie kind of town, and we were like, "This will be very low stakes. We can go. If we don't like it, we can leave," right?
Yeah.
So we went there in April thinking we would stay through, like, July. Well, we stayed through October because we were just loving the lifestyle, loving it. But then we were like, "Okay, this is a town of 3,000 people, we're in our 20s, like, is this really what we wanna be doing right now?" So we actually moved to Nashville after that, and we lived in Nashville for 2 years. Loved it, but wasn't our forever town. And kinda the whole time, we're like, we wanna go back to Maine. We're missing Maine. We miss Maine. So fast forward, it's summer of 2023, and we decided to go back to Maine to his grandma's house again with the intention that we didn't wanna live with my husband's grandma forever. And so, we went there in May and started looking for houses.
With the intention of we're not gonna live here full time, but we're gonna spend certain times a year here and then rent it out when we're not here.
Exactly, with the intention of June, July, August, September, October are gorgeous in Maine, a perfect time to be there, and then November through May are perfect times to be in Austin. So we felt like that would be the right balance for us. We get, like, the city life in Austin, but then kinda slow down in the summer and get the beauty of Maine. I mean, I had never being from Austin, Texas, I had never experienced a summer or a fall like I had in Maine. Is just
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, people enjoy being outside in the summer, like, I could get used to this."
Right, because it's probably too hot in
Oh,
Austin.
it's horribly hot. The heat makes me, like, angry in Austin, and we are staying in Austin this summer, and I'm like, "Man, get ready." It's already been, like, 87 degrees, and I'm like, "Oh, this is nothing." It's
So
horrible.
when you guys started looking to buy in Maine, it sounds like his grandmother has a place, like, right on the beach, which I imagine is quite costly if you were looking to buy. So what were you guys looking for in terms of budget, or at least what were the houses that you were looking for selling for?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were looking, we still liked the coastal towns a lot. So we knew we wanted to stay in that coastal area. What's interesting about Maine is like we are two people that travel a good amount for fun, for work, for all of that. And so the airports are not easy in Maine. So that was kind of a big factor for us too. We ended up getting somewhere that's about an hour and a half from each airport, which can be tricky at times. But when we were looking, we wanted to stay between the 400 and $450,000 range. Now, what was really unfortunate about the time we bought was the interest rates were horribly high. Like, we set our cap of if this interest rate goes above 8%, we will not buy. Yeah,
Wow.
we locked in our first, like, interest rate at 7.8%, which was, like, so painful. But just based on what we'd seen and known people to rent houses out for during the summer and all of that, that, like, if times were desperate, we could make the money back.
This is something that I think people glaze over, and it's so important because, yes, 7.88% interest, that sounds horrible because we have recent memories of 2 and 3% interest rates. We know that historically, mortgage rates have once been in the double digits, so it's actually not that bad historically, but it hurts, right? And interest just feels like such a superfluous cost that you don't wanna be spending any money on it as well as you can anyway. But I think what you're touching on is, in a way, the interest rate doesn't really matter as long as your costs are going to cover it. And I imagine the beauty of that time being 8% interest rates is you probably had less competition of other people buying because they were all also afraid of the interest rates. So when the interest rates drop, the prices tend to go up. You have a ton more competition. You have people putting in all cash offers or waiving inspections or doing all of these crazy things just to get the house. And when that happens, you'll already have your house and you can refinance. So have you guys
We already
already
have.
refinanced? You
We
have.
already
Okay.
have refinanced, yeah. So we were definitely, like, buying in at that 7.8% going, "Okay, the minute that these drop to a more reasonable rate, we're gonna jump on the refinance." We're also going we were, like, in it to go, "Okay, yeah, this 7.8% sucks right now, but it's not gonna suck forever," and it's not forever, right? And we didn't wanna like, the thing about this home, a couple things that we were looking for, New England charm. We're from Austin, Texas, like I said, there's a lot of beautiful homes, but they're newer, 90s, early 2000 builds. But when you're in Maine, you have that history. The town that we're in, is was founded near the time of the Declaration of Independence, right? So, like, I want my house to reflect that charm. Our house was built in 1865, which is so cool. In the front of it, it has a beautiful blue door. It had the New England charm, the shiplap, all of that. And so we wanted to definitely look for something that had that, that didn't have the inside that looked like it was built in 1865.
Yes, when you said 1865, my heart broke in 2 places, one of like, "Oh my gosh, the amazing charm," and one of, "Oh gosh, what does that HVAC look like?"
Right, exactly. So, to like, a big thing for us because when we were looking at houses, all houses in Maine have basements for the most part. We're not used to that in Texas, and so the basements were scary. Like, my husband's grandma's basement is like, it's just like a base it's not like a when you think basement in maybe, like, the Midwest, it's like game room and all of that. Most of the basements in Maine are just to have, like, the sump pump and maybe some storage if it's nice enough to do that. So, the house that we ended up buying, the basement was, like, totally, like, has the plastic wrap, and that seems like such, like, a funny thing to consider, but, like, I didn't want a scary, creepy, wet basement that might cause issues later, issues that we don't know how to deal with.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Finding the right cleaning team has been absolutely crucial to the success of my second homes. They're my eyes and ears on the property when I'm not there, spotting issues early, keeping standards high, and helping me wow guests time and again. But finding someone local you actually trust, that wasn't always easy until I found Turno. Turno connects you with vetted cleaners who understand the demands of short term rentals in your specific market. Their app makes everything simple, from auto scheduling your cleans to photo and video checklists that ensure your property looks exactly the way you want, and even automatic payments after each clean is completed. Click the link in the show notes to check out Turno and get $25 off your first cleaning.
You finally bought your dream vacation home. Now what? Your goal is for it to pay for itself, but between managing bookings, guest messages, and cleaners, it can feel like a full time job. That's where Logify comes in. Logify is a comprehensive vacation rental platform that makes it easy to manage and market your second home, even if you're just getting started. From syncing your calendar across Airbnb, Vrbo, and Booking.com to automating payments and guest communication, Logify simplifies it all. It's built for beginners and comes with free one on one onboarding to help you get up and running fast. To make your second home start working for you, visit the link in the show notes and use code HOME20 to receive an additional 20% off their yearly and bi yearly plans. And now back to the show. This is such a good point. I think we don't realize because we think, oh, we're in the US, like we're all in the same country, but there are so many differences. I had a realtor from Arizona on, and she was telling me about how they have like 10 different types of grass in Arizona and how the heat and the sun can actually be just as damaging to property as what I'm used to in the Northeast of snow and such. So I think it's really self aware of you guys to say, we're not from a place where basements are common, so we wanna mitigate any potential issues that could come our way with that.
Yeah, we immediately were like, we do not want to get into this like crazy unknown of like the sump pump world. For example, I had never heard of a sump pump before I moved to Maine, so it was just stuff like that. And then also, too, of course, the inside charm of like the kitchen and the bathrooms and all of that. I wanted it updated. We didn't want to have to update ourselves. We wanted it updated and wanted to just like it to be move in ready. And we found that and like jumped on the deal immediately.
Mhm, and how did that go, your offer? Were you competing against other people? Were you able to get it at asking price?
Yeah, so we actually, the person it was under contract and then their funding fell through. The girl, I guess, worked, like, as a contractor and her contract ended, and so that fell through, and the realtor we were working with was immediately like, "Guys, I think this is the house, like, let's go see it." We saw it a day after that and made an offer the day after that. We were able to get it, I think, about 7,500 below asking, just for, like, a few things, so and again, I think that that's because of the time we bought at the 7.8%, like, we had friends even in Austin at that time buying homes, and they were writing letters to, like, try to, like, convince the heartfelt, like, trying to do anything, pull heartstrings to get these homes that, like, 30 people were offering it on. So we had a totally different experience up in Maine which was lovely.
I also think when a seller has a deal fall through, sometimes they are the best seller to deal with. That was the case for our first property as well. And I think when you're first on the market and you have a lot of interest, you're very quick to be like, I'm not giving you any concessions. I'm not like doing anything like whatever. I have all this interest. And then when they have a deal and then it doesn't happen, I think they're much more likely to be like, okay, we're just gonna take your offer. We're not gonna battle. We just want this to like happen together because they've already mentally committed to selling. And I think something else you're mentioning here, which is really important for people, is how quickly you were able to move on that. But the big caveat that I'm hearing is you were able to move that quickly because you had been looking for a while. You had a strategy. You knew the market. You knew what things typically sold for. You knew what you wanted. So when I encourage people to start touring places or talking to realtors, talking to lenders, it's not to say because tomorrow you're going to do what you did and make that offer and pull the trigger. It's just so that when that right property comes, you're able to move as quickly as you did.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, there was just a few non-negotiables. My husband wanted a garage really bad, and, like, a lot of the houses, obviously, that are built in 1865 were not built with garages. So a lot of the houses, like, on our street don't necessarily have garages. Our house happened to be the guy who had owned it before was a Subaru, like, custom outfitter, and so his garage the garage in our house is the only place that has AC. Like, the garage is so nice, which the AC thing was a whole 'nother thing too. We're from Austin, Texas. You do not tour a house that doesn't have an AC, that's like a death wish, but to, like, not have central AC was so crazy, but we've, like and that's kind of been a thing with the rentals, we're like, "Hey, guys, it's that time of year, there's 2 AC units in the basement," like, kind of thing, so it's been a bit of a learning curve from, like, the South to the Northeast, but it's been really fun.
It's so funny because as you're saying that, I can imagine you guys going on the tours and being like, "What do you mean it doesn't have central air?" And I'm thinking back to when my husband and I, we had been living in New York City for many, 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 many years.
Most places don't have central AC.
Most places don't, but when we moved to the UK, I was on these tours of these flats going, "So what is the history of cockroaches? And have you guys ever had a bed bug infestation
Are
in
there
the
rats
building
here?
before?" These are very normal questions in New York City, and I had a realtor turn to me in the UK and be like, "Where are you moving here from? It
Like, "Are
sounds
you okay?"
terrible."
That's so funny. Oh my god, yeah. I know it's like those things where even, like I mean, I'm sure, like, the look of horror on our faces when he was like, "Okay, so yeah, there's the heating," and we're like, "Oh, and what's the AC?" And he's like, "What are you talking
What do
about?"
you
He's like,
mean?
"You
And
open the windows."
well, and with global warming, I mean, even 10 years ago in Maine, you did not need AC. The evenings were cool enough. My husband's family has been vacationing in York Beach, Maine every year, so I'm familiar with that area. And I remember when we would be looking for houses to rent, like it didn't matter. Now it's something that we look for, especially with having kids. We want to like be able to control the temperature to like down to the degree, but it's changing over time. And quite frankly, I think sadly, the whole world is gonna need central heat and air at a certain point just to stabilize.
No, agreed, yeah, and it's, something that we're eventually like, "Okay, we'll probably just have to, like, go to a mini split type of unit," just for also too, like, I think it will help with rentals eventually too, is, a lot of people come in the summer and stuff from hotter places and are just used I sleep better when I have fake air on me, you
Yeah.
know? I
So
just do.
tell us what happened. You make this
Yeah.
offer, it's accepted quite quickly. It's during the 2023 summer when you and your husband are staying with his grandmother. You're there anyway. So when you close, do you move into the property? Did you do any renovations? What happened next?
We painted 2 rooms, we did it ourselves, we had plans to paint, like, 3 or 4, we painted 2, and we were like, "Absolutely no more." Um,
Yes.
but nothing else really, like, needed upgrading, it was more just, like, kind of preference. We did move in right away. I already did work at Minoan at this point, so, like, the furnishing part of it was super fun because I got to use Minoan to do all of that, so I
Well, let's stop there and explain to everybody. Tell people what Minoan is and how helpful that was to you in this process.
Totally. So Minoan is a free furnishing platform for hospitality professionals that has discounts on over 180 brands. So everything from Wayfair Professional, Crate and Barrel, Brooklyn Bedding, so sheets, mattresses, linens, all the furniture, everything you could possibly need for your rental, but no one gets discounts on it. So for us, it was like obviously a no-brainer. Why would we not take advantage of these discounts? And it just also it was really fun to like kind of go on a little shopping spree on Minoan for myself. So
Exactly, and these
yeah.
are discounts that are typically reserved for, like, interior designers or trade pricing.
Oh, yeah, and
So
ours is even better. We get better than trade on
that's
most
incredible.
brands. Yeah, so it was really like it saved us a ton of money, and we were thinking about this going, "Okay, I'm someone that when I move in somewhere, I want it to feel comfortable very quickly." I think everyone feels like that, but I don't like to wait. Like, I wanna, like, get the stuff quickly. I want it to feel like home as soon as possible, and we were going into it going, "We are gonna rent this out eventually, so, like, let's start thinking like that now."
Yes, yes, and I think what is so different about you, me, this community is we are thinking first, like, "How am I going to enjoy this property?" versus in a spreadsheet thinking about numbers and ROI only. Believe me, if we think our way, which is putting ourselves first, it is going to equate to the right numbers and the right ROI, but I do think you have maybe people who view themselves as a real estate investor first, who's like, I'll just grab some stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I'll do it as cheap as possible. It's fine. There's a bed, there's a couch. Like, what else do people need? But I know for me, when I am looking to book an Airbnb, a Verbo, a short term rental, there's really specific things that I look for that are kind of quirky. Like, I love a great couch. I am a mom of two. After my kids are in bed, I wanna sit and have a glass of wine with my husband, maybe in front of a fireplace, maybe just in front of a TV, what have you, and when I see a really uncomfortable looking couch,
Tiny little couch that can
I
fit, like,
want
one person. I'm like, "No, I don't wanna stay
exactly.
there."
I'm like, "No, I'm gonna look for another place." So I really think that's what I love about Minoan, and that's what I love about our approach in terms of what would make the house comfortable for you? What would make it a place that you wanna live if living there is 1 weekend, 1 month, whatever it might be for you. And then there's gonna be lots of other people like us who are gonna see those photos and say, "I'd pay money to go stay at that place."
Yeah, exactly, and I also, like, really wanted to lean into, like, the New England charm, like I said, like, that was part of the house, thinking that probably the people that are gonna be staying here for these months or whatever probably aren't from this area, so, like, kind of, you know, not not full Airbnb design, right? Like, our we do have a short-term rental, and I can get more into that in a little bit, in the Texas Hill Country, and that one was designed to be a short-term rental. There's neon signs on the wall, it's the whole thing, right? This one was more like, to your point, this is my home. I want it to feel like comfortable and something that I would enjoy spending time in, but also has the like cleanliness, sophistication of somewhere that if I came into it, I would feel really good about staying there too.
Because you were essentially thinking, "We're going to probably take the most high value months, and then we're going to midterm rent around yourself," right?
Right.
Can you explain to people what midterm rental means? Because I think people are familiar with short-term rental. People might know about long-term rentals in terms of we ourselves are long-term renters, right? But what is a midterm rental?
Yeah, a midterm rental is 28 days or longer for a stay. And so interestingly enough, the city that we bought in city, town, I don't know. I don't know if it's qualified as a city, right? It is, but it's small, about 7,000 people. And so where we bought in Rockland, Maine, they have a pretty strict regulations on short-term rentals there. It's very much like there are a lot of local bed and breakfast, and so they don't wanna take away from that economy and community. And so there's like a limited number of short-term rentals that they allow in the town. And after that, you can get on a wait list, but like a lot of those people aren't giving up those permits either.
Of course.
Right. So we were looking at that and also just kind of thinking like for that the style of like how we wanted to stay there, the stability of us not when we're not there, we're in Austin or we're somewhere else, like we aren't close enough to just like bop over if something's wrong or needs to be cleaned or fixed or anything like that. So having less turnover is a lot easier for us in that situation. Just because we didn't really know how accessible a good short-term rental cleaner would be. We ended up finding someone that's great, but, it's great that we talk to her once a month, once every 3 months, once every 6 months to come clean the house, right? So, it versus, every 3 days.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. When I was finally ready to rent out my vacation home, I had no idea what to charge guests. Thankfully, that's when I found Price Labs, a dynamic pricing tool that helps me automate pricing like a pro. It's simple. Price Labs uses real time data to automatically adjust my rates based on local demand, nearby events, and booking trends. It's easy to use, lets me set my own minimum and maximum prices, and keeps my pricing smart and competitive without any manual work. If you want your vacation home to pay for itself or even turn a profit, you need Price Labs to help you get the most from every booking. Visit the link in the show notes and enter code second home first, all one word, for a 30-day free trial plus $10 off your first invoice.
Interior design is one of my favorite parts of buying a second home. I love creating a beautiful space. But let's be honest, staying on budget, managing orders, tracking deliveries, and juggling countless retailers can get overwhelming fast, which is why so many hosts turn to Minoan. With Minoan, you can shop more than 180 brands you love all in one place. That's brands like Crate and Barrel, Samsung, Anthropologie, Article, Casper, and so many more. They give you access to better than trade pricing, something typically reserved for professional designers, allowing you to save on every purchase. They keep every order, delivery, and receipt organized in one clean dashboard. And the best part, there's no membership fee, no subscription, no catch, just a streamlined approach with big savings. Once your second home is set up, Minoan can even make it shoppable. Your place basically becomes a four walled influencer. So after guests spend a weekend obsessing over your couch or those sheets or that coffee maker, they can scan your QR code and order the exact same item for their own home. You earn a commission, no extra work required. To furnish smarter, visit minoan.com/second home to sign up and receive a free $25 in credit.
If you're listening to the show, I know making memories with family and friends is super important to you. And that's why I'm excited to introduce you to Flightographer. Flightographer connects travelers with local photographers in more than 350 destinations around the world. But it's more than just a photo shoot. It's a way to capture meaningful memories and experience a place through a local's lens. When I look back on past Flightographer photo shoots I've done, I don't just see pictures, but special moments preserved. I remember the feeling of that day and the story behind every shot. Whether you're celebrating a milestone birthday, a family vacation, or a special getaway to your second home, Flightographer is there to capture the moments you never want to forget. To book your own Flightographer shoot, visit the link in the show notes and use code SHF25. That's S as in second, H as in home, F as in first, 25 to get $25 off your first shoot. And now back to the show. What I really like about what you're saying too is short-term rental regulations are really scary to a lot of people, and understandably so. Sometimes, depending on where you buy, it could change. You could buy in a place that had favorable regulations and then those change, or had no regulations and then they add some. And I think, unfortunately, if you're not educated in how to look at that and how to kind of read the tea leaves on what's coming, it's a lot of fear mongering to get people scared of it. What you are showing with your example is you didn't give up the place that you wanted to buy. You didn't say, we want to be in Rockland, but oh, they don't really allow short term rentals. Guess we'll pick a different area. You said, we're still going to pick this area, but we'll make sure we buy at a price point, we buy in a place that we can use a different strategy, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, and the midterm rental thing has been really great for us. We use Furnish Finder mostly. We still use Airbnb, but Furnish Finder we've had a lot of success on as well. And it's been a lot of traveling nurses. We've had a couple digital nomads. So like the clientele is really good too. And because they're moving in there for longer, I feel like they take care of the place really well too.
Mm,
Because they're home for a little bit. There's some pride in that as far as like moving in and like getting comfortable to your point, wanting a good couch, wanting the coffee maker, wanting, the kitchen was something that we felt like we really needed to outfit very well because these people aren't when you're there for 2 days, you're probably not cooking at home, maybe, but, it's not that big of a deal if you don't have every utensil. If you're there 30 days, it is a big deal. There's just some other, like, thought processes that go into that as well.
And now you touched on you also have a short-term rental. So tell us a bit about that, when that happened, and what that property is like.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. In 2016, my mom and dad bought this house in San Marcos, Texas. I was currently going to school at Texas State. And so I lived there for a
Mhm.
year at Texas State. And then friends lived there. And then my brother in law lived there. And then after he moved out, it was really looking like a like college kids had lived there for 7 years, right? It was like really looking like that. And, I was like, again, I'm working at Minoan at the time, and I'm like, "Mom, I think we can do this." I was looking at Airbnb, looking at some AirDNA stuff, and I was like, "There's, like, really good opportunity in San Marcos." Like, there are a few really great short-term rentals there, but I'm like, "But we could do it better." And just having the knowledge of the industry, I feel like I had a little bit of a leg up on, like, we immediately used Summerled for our design. So they came in and did the virtual design for that property for us. It made it so easy. We ordered everything through Manoa, of course, like, we did it very much like I said, like, this one was made to be a short-term rental. This was one that was like, "How much money can we make on this property?" And honestly, going from, the college rental to the short-term rental, we, like, 3x'd our revenue last year. I
Wow,
know.
that's huge, and
Yeah.
you also probably have people taking slightly better care of the place than college kids.
Less parties there.
Yes,
The
yes, less
neighbors are
frequent
honestly, like,
parties at least.
ironically probably happier.
Right,
Yeah,
right, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Okay, great. So I like to think of vacation homeowners in one of 3 camps,
okay.
and your camp can change throughout the course of a 30-year mortgage, it can change throughout the course of a year, but essentially on one side of the spectrum, we have the profit maximizers, and that is someone who says, "This property is going to make as much money as possible, and then when it's not booked, I'm gonna use it and enjoy it." This was me for a lot of my journey where I would wait until Thursday at 5 PM, and my husband and I would look at each other and be like, "The house is open, we're going this weekend," and that was the only way we would go. On the other side of that, we have a first dibber, and that's someone who maybe is not as reliant on the rental income to be able to afford the place. They're gonna say, "I'm buying this house in Maine, and I wanna be there July and August, and I know those are my most valuable months, but that's important to me, and I'll offset my costs the rest of the year." And somewhere in the middle is a sweet spotter who says, "By and large, I'm going to prioritize revenue, but sometimes I'm gonna block off certain dates." For example, my son is turning 1 in a couple of weeks. We've blocked off about 5 days at one of our properties. We're gonna throw his birthday party there. Do I know I could make money that weekend? Yes, but it's not worth it to me because I wanna celebrate there. So, where did you see yourself maybe when you bought the main property? And where do you see yourself now? And maybe it's different with your short-term rental and the main property.
Okay, so for the main property, definitely when we, like, right away bought it, we were first dippers. That's what you call it, right? First dipper?
Mhm. First
We
dibber,
were
yep.
like, "We're gonna be here in the summer, in the fall, non-negotiable." Then we started seeing how much interest we were getting in the summer and fall and how much people were willing to pay in the summer and fall, and we were like, well, we also are very blessed that we can still go stay with his grandma if we do wanna be in Maine in the summer and, spend some time there. So that's always an option for us, but so I think we've switched from first dipper to sweet spot. We're not willing to, like, totally, like, give it up right now. I think that but we're, like, not totally we're like, "Okay, there's good money to be made." I think as time goes on, we will go back to being first dippers. Like, I think that that's our ultimate goal, is to spend our summers there and the rest in Austin, but right now this summer, we're profit maximizers. I'm not for first dippers, but right now we're profit maximizers. We also too I said we refinanced. When we refinanced, we actually were able to refinance at a 20-year loan and still lower our costs a little bit. So, we're kinda looking at it at, like, how can we, like, pay this off a little bit quicker? Can we pay a little bit extra, whatever? So, I would say we're profit maximizers currently. I don't think it'll stay like that forever, for the main house. For the San Marcos house, our short-term rental in the Texas Hill Country, I think we will forever be profit maximizers with that one. That one, we book up as much as possible. Sometimes on a weekend in the fall, I block it off for me and my friends to do, like, an alumni weekend, but, like, Other than that, we want that booked out as much as we possibly can.
Did you have any fears or maybe concerns before you guys bought the place in Maine?
Yeah, I think that buying your first house is scary. It's
Mhm.
really scary. It's a huge
Especially
financial.
when you're not gonna live there full time, right?
Right, and honestly, we got a lot of, like, "You guys are kinda crazies," you know? Like, we got a lot of that. Like, "What do you mean you're buying a house that you're not for sure gonna live in year round?" All this stuff. We did spend 1 winter there, and we won't be doing it again. It was it wasn't bad, like, it was fine. We're just, we're from Texas, like, it was honestly
Yeah.
the dark more than the cold that got us.
How did you deal with all of those opinions coming in?
Yeah. It's been funny and interesting. Like, I think that now that we're, like, 3 years into it, it's gotten better. People are like, "Oh, this is working," right? Like, "Oh, you guys have made it work." But it was that initial, like, "What if it doesn't get rented out? What if XYZ?" You know what I mean? And I think that my husband and I just kinda took the approach of, like, we always say this too, because sometimes some months are harder than others or whatever. Stuff comes up, we need a new furnace, like, random stuff comes up that's like, "Oh, man, this house is costing us money right now," kind of thing, versus making it or even just breaking even. But we always are like, "You will always regret selling the house versus keeping it." Like, no, you all like, we would have always been like, "Oh, we should have bought 3 years ago." So that's because especially the interest rate was so high. We weren't gonna live there for all year, all this stuff. It's kind of people are like, "Why are you guys doing this?" And we're like, "Because ultimately, like, when I look at the future, when I look at the lifestyle that we wanna live, we wanna spend our summers in Maine. We wanna own more than just one property eventually." We're trying to, like, think of long term, think of building generational wealth for our future family and all of that, and so we always are like, "We would've you always regret the sell of the house. Like, how many times have my parents been like, "Oh, that house that we had 20 years ago, we shoulda kept it and rented it out." And it's like one of those things that, like, we work hard to make this work financially for us, and, like, it's been definitely worth it. We love it.
And when you zoom out from that, I think it's even bigger of like, you will regret taking you will regret not taking the risk versus taking the risk and possibly failing. Because if you're really calculated and intentional, the likelihood of failure is probably very small. And another guest who's been on the show, Keisha Get Mary, she said something so great. She was like, "So if it doesn't work, then what happens? You just sell the house.
You
It's
just
okay."
sell the house. Like,
Yeah,
it's okay. Or we were like, worst case scenario, we know we can afford to live at the house in Maine. Absolute
right.
worst case scenario, we go live at the house in Maine full time. Like, there's
Taylor,
worst
it's so
things.
funny you said that. I saw a clip online recently, and it was talking about entrepreneurship. And really, I think, again, if you zoom out, it's about, like, all these naysayers and haters when people are doing things unconventionally. And what the gentleman was saying was he's like, "Anytime you're starting a business and you're taking, like, a big risk on yourself, you get all these people who are like, 'I don't know, like, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't make any money? Like, what if it fails?' All of these things that could happen." And he's like, and I just look at them and I say, "Well, then I'll go get a job. My worst case scenario is your everyday life." So in a way, it's like what you're saying of like, my worst case scenario is, "Oh, darn, then I have to go live in a beautiful place in coastal Maine. What a
Right.
shame."
Like, I have to go live at the place that I loved enough to buy.
Right, right.
So I think that that's definitely how we, like, have looked at it, and we're right now, like, especially through the winter months, we do not make money on the house. We do not. Like, no way, and we knew that was, like, going into that. We knew that dead January, no one's like we get people in the house, but they are not paying our mortgage, right? But we look at it going, "Okay, depending on what we get from that, that's the money we have to go live on without raising our cost of living for the month." So, we're owning this house at the same cost, and we're building equity, and we're investing in ourselves still, and still getting to, like, live the life that we want to. I think some people get, like, the misconception that, like, well, if it's not making money, it's not worth it, and it's like, well, even if we have an extra 500 or so a month we have to pay extra on top of our living expense, paying $500 a month to own a house, like, that seems like a pretty good deal to me.
to own a house that's gonna be worth more, you only put, let's say, 10 to 20% down, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, at the end of your 20 years, which goes fast, like, I this weekend, I had to go renew my permit for my first property, which means I've been renting it for 3 years, and 3 years might sound like nothing to people, but I'm like, "How has it been 3 years already?" And like you said, $500 a month, you're owning an asset that's going to be worth, multiple hundreds of thousands, if not a million in the future. And by and large, a lot of that was not even your own money being put into it. But if you look at the house annually, are you guys close to breaking even, or how does it shake out on like a more annual look?
Yeah, I actually know this pretty well because I just did our taxes on it. Um,
Exactly.
no, we did actually have a little bit of a loss this year. Not too crazy though, but I mean enough to like offset our taxes pretty nicely. So I wasn't like honestly, again, that was kind of like another bonus of like having a bit of a loss on certain things. But no, it doesn't it's not enough to like financially spiral us. It's like I think eventually we will get to a place where we are making money on the home. It's just like even within the last year, we ended up staying there a couple extra months, some stuff like
Right.
that. So it was like we could have made more than we did this year, but we kind of chose not to. It's comfortable financially.
Mhm. And for anyone listening and watching who might be wondering what Taylor is talking about, I will have my personal accountant on the show soon. If the episode is live before Taylor's, I'll link it. But essentially, what the power of short-term rentals is if you meet certain criteria, you can actually take losses from your property against your W-2 income, which means it's lowering the amount of tax that you have to pay, which is wild.
It is crazy and it really helped us out this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What would be your final piece of advice for anyone else who's considering doing the same?
My final piece of advice is do it. Just do it because you're gonna end up living the life you wanna live doing it, and it's worth it. Like we were saying earlier, it's worth a little bit of the risk. You're gonna make it work if you want it to work. I truly believe that, and it's like, especially at this point in the world we live in right now where, me and my husband are both very fortunate. We work remotely, and we get to do this. Like, take advantage of that. Go see the things, go do the things. Don't get stuck in your little radius 10-mile radius from, where you were born, like, go explore, go do it.
Perfect advice to end on, Taylor. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much, this is so fun.
Thanks for listening to Second Home First. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to sign up for my free weekly newsletter at buyyoursecondhomefirst.com, where I share the simple 4-step strategy to help you do the same. If you have a minute to subscribe, rate, or review the show, or even send a favorite episode to a friend, that would mean the absolute world to me. And if you want to be a guest on the show, have a question you want answered, or a topic you think I should cover, send me a note at hello@buyyoursecondhomefirst.com or on social media at buyyoursecondhomefirst. I personally read and respond to every single message. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Klein, and I can't wait to see you all again next week. The content shared on Second Home First is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment or financial decisions.